My name is Butch, and I am to talk to you about addictions, and more specifically, alcoholism, because my drug of choice was alcohol. Um, I can start by what it was like, and what it was like led up to some pretty bad things in my life. Um, when I was about 14, my dad decided that I was old enough. I was an adult then. So on the way home from church, um, Dad would almost always stop at the tavern after church, and we always went to church. And he would have his beers and whatever, and his kids would do whatever. But when I was 14, I remember that he decided I was old enough, and then I could have a glass of beer. And I didn't realize it until much later in life. But I look forward to Sundays for that reason. And then from there, it progressed, but slowly. Got married when I was young, 19, was a father at 20. My consumption had raised somewhat by then, but not a real lot. But then in my mid 20s, then it really got rampant. But I tell you all that because alcoholism isn't really gauged by how much you drank, what you drank, or when you drank, but it's really gauged by the problems you caused from your drinking. When you look at it that way, I think a lot of people will look at their drinking in a different light. I never had a DWI. I've never been divorced. I have never lost a job because of drinking, but I'm still an alcoholic, no doubt. Um, my drinking, as I said, progressed really rapidly. It was getting to the point at the end that I consumed a quart of whiskey a day and more on the weekends, and I worked every day. And finally, my boss, at 2:30 in the afternoon, my boss saw my company car at a tavern, and he sent an employee down to get me to come to his office, which I did. And this was a Friday afternoon, in fact, and he said, we got to talk about your drinking. And at that time, the company I worked for, great company, they gave you what they called the decision-making leave. You got 1 day off with pay to make a decision about whatever you and your boss had talked about. So that's what I was given. That was on Friday afternoon, and he said I had to come back on Tuesday with a decision. That decision could be that there's no decision. But so that weekend, I thought about it real hard, and I prayed about it real hard. I've always been a pretty good Christian. I try to do what's right. But God and I talked a lot that weekend. And I remember we went to church that Sunday morning, and I was kneeling in the pews, and I said, God, I need your attention, and I need it right now. I said, I got two questions, but I need the answers ASAP. And the questions are real simple. Do I have a problem with alcohol, and can I overcome that problem if it exists by myself? And I sat down, and our priest was doing a baptismal that day. When he got all done with the little guy, I can't remember his name, but he held him up and he said, I want you to welcome the newest member to our parish. He is going to have a lot of problems in his life that he will not be able to overcome without your help. You can't tell me that was not divine intervention. That was my answer right there. And I started crying. And my wife and kids looked at me a little funny, naturally. And then when church was done and we got home, they never even asked me what that was all about. I had a family meeting and I told them what it was all about. And I said, Dad's got to do something about his drinking. So I called my doctor the next morning, and he never even questioned it, and he did not know. I don't think he knew, but anyway, I told him about my problem, and he said, I'm going to make arrangements for you to go into the hospital for observation, and they do that all the time, 72 hours of observation, and then I'm going to make arrangements to get you into treatment. And I said, that's great. We're on the same page there. So the Tuesday morning, I went into work. I had a meeting with my boss and all the employees and told them everything. I said, here's where I'm going to be. Here's the telephone number. I had all of that stuff, when they could visit me. So that's when my journey started. That was April 22nd, 1988. As this is being taken, I am coming up on 29 years of sobriety, because then I went one step further and got back down on my knees and said, God, now that you've opened my eyes, I have a present for you. And I said, I've always asked you for things in the past. Get me out of this jam, whatever. I said, this time I have a gift for you. And that gift is my alcoholism. I want you to take it. I want you to do whatever you want with it, but I want you to relieve me of it. And from that day forward, I've never had an urge. Compulsion is gone, and it's been a great life. That is how God and the Catholic Church intervened with my life. To tell you what it's like today, I guess it's the simplest way to say it is, God has absolutely given me two lives, and this one I wouldn't trade for the world. Sobriety is phenomenal. I challenge everybody, come along on this journey with me. It's a great ride, and I wish anybody listening to this that thinks they have a problem, that they would pursue the right avenues to get that problem corrected. I can't be more pointed than that, whether it means your doctor, whether it means AA, whether it means your church. You can go on and on and on. AA is instrumental in my recovery, without a doubt, and many other people that I know. But seek out AA, Al-Anon. There's so many different avenues to pursue. The first one to pursue is the dear Lord. Absolutely. Talk to him. He's waiting to hear from you. And that's it.